Hi, I'm Nigel from Psychic Today, and I'm going to tell you a real life ghost story that happened to me. In about 2010, I used to live in a tiny little town called Hebden Bridge. It's up in West Yorkshire, right in the hills in a deep little valley. In many ways, you can say Hebden Bridge is spook central. It's full of psychics and mystics. It's full of new age people who transformed a once old mill town that was derelict in the 70s into a thriving community. I once moved to an old cottage. In fact, it was a house share. It was a beautiful old cottage. In fact, it was kind of like a barn conversion. And there was a nice lady. She owned it. We would share the property together. She worked away quite a lot at the time, so I was there on my own. And now imagine an old barn conversion, big thick stones, cold floors, small windows. I mean, it was kind of idyllic. It was up a little path going up. All I had around me was about 2 or 3 neighbours and a lot of sheep and some horses. And I could walk down the hill and go into the town and near the train station, and I had everything that I need. And I thought this place would be ideal. Feels a bit strange inside, but it kind of was ideal. However, it wasn't. However, it was probably one of the worst moments in my entire life, and probably one of the most scariest. And even to this day, I cannot truly tell you what it was. Maybe my mind won't or doesn't want to go there. However, I'll tell you the story. Not longer after moving into the property, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, my housemate, she again had to go off to work, went off about 4 or 5 days, and I was left on my own for the longest period of time. And I remember coming home from work one evening. It's kind of dark, late, it is winter time, and I just couldn't get to sleep. I just could not get to sleep. And then I had this almighty thump sound outside my door, and it is an old house. I'm upstairs. I can hear the wind blowing on the windows, and the doors sometimes rattled inside. I didn't really think much to it. But then all of a sudden, I felt this pressure upon my chest, like someone or something was holding me or sat on top of me. I mean, it was a physical sensation. It was strong. It was unnerving. But yet I thought, no, it must be my mind. I'm in an old house, on top of a hill, in the middle of nowhere. It's raining outside. It's windy. It's a storm. There's nothing there. But then I could feel the breath. I could hear the breath. And then things started to get even more scary. This happened a few nights, not every night, but it happened a couple of nights, always when I was on my own. And then things started to get worse. As I said, it was an old house, and we did have some problems with mice in the house. Sometimes they would get in between the old stone and kind of the new stone. Sometimes you could hear them, and she said we do have problems and we try to get rid of them. Sometimes at night you could hear them just between the door of the kitchen. And there's one night, again, it's quite late at night, I just come home from work and about to go to bed, and I could hear the scratching on the walls, and it just got louder and louder and louder. And it was always in one spot, near the kitchen, on the outside wall of the kitchen. Don't go in there, it's fine. I'll go upstairs, I'll go to bed. It is late. But then the scratching followed me upstairs, and it kept getting louder and louder and louder. And I remember running up the stairs into my bedroom, closing the door, and going to myself, what was all that about? And then it stopped. And I thought, it's got to be the mice. Maybe they got into other ways, I don't know. And then I heard them on the ceiling, scratching all the way around my bedroom for days, and it did not stop for about 3 days until my housemate came home. And as I said, things kept getting worse after that. That feeling of someone sat on me was there now every night. And one particular night, I remember I was so scared and so frightened, I stayed up. I started to pray. And then all of a sudden, outside my bedroom door, I heard something jump, like something was falling out of the loft onto the floor with a... And then I could hear it walk up to the door, right up to the door. And then the door just rattled. And I didn't know what to do. I remember in my mind, I called out. Then I wasn't doing psychic work. I wasn't doing mediumship or anything like that. And I remember calling out, asking for, can I have help? Asking from the angels, asking, because I didn't know what to do. And I remember hearing this beautiful music, like a choir singing, and the door started to rattle. And the lamp, a tiny little lamp, I've had that lamp for years and I took it with me, started to flicker. In fact, it was an old lamp that the head would flex around, you can move it around. And it started to move from one side to the other side, flickering on and off. And my mind could not bear this. I could not bear it. I remember opening the door, nothing was there, running outside. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold. I said, what am I going to do? Then all of a sudden realising, you know what, this is in my mind. I've got a lot of my life at the time. I got work, I was studying. Grow up, Nigel. Get back in there. Got back in. Day after day, this happened. Day after day. I started to change. My eyes got a little bit darker. I got more angry with people, but I also wasn't sleeping. Every night this would happen. The only time I got peace was when I was in the shower. That was it. Any moment I was alone in the house, there was scratching, there was banging on the door. I would hear this thump, and then these steps come all the way. Sometimes they used to run to the door. And like I said, when I was in bed, I could feel something on my chest. I can even hear its breath and a growl. And I said, enough is enough. I've done this now for 3 months. I can't continue anymore. So I did call up a good friend of mine, actually at the time, who used to work on Psychic Today a long, long time ago. And she said, I know what this is. I have a friend who will come round and get rid of this. So she gave me the number of a good friend of hers, and I called her up, and she says, right, I will come round. I need to get rid of this. She was a very good medium, and I need to get rid of this. But she told me, be careful. She said, it will know that I'm coming, and it will make it worse, or it will try to get you out of the house. But I'll come. We set a couple of dates for her to come. Every time something happened, so she couldn't have come. Every time. And this was getting worse and worse. I was even starting to have problems with my housemate. She were kind of asking why the electricity bills were so high. They were getting really, really high when I was in the house. Her herself were going through personal problems, and that made our relationship really fractured. So eventually I arranged a date for the psychic, the lady, to come up to get whatever it is in the house. She were going to come up that Saturday when my housemate wasn't in, to come up and do this. My housemate, for some reason, suddenly came home, and she came into my room, and I could see the anger on her face, and she just said, get out of my house before I kill you. And I left that house the Monday afterwards, and never went foot in that house ever again. But there's one more thing I need to tell you. I was lucky because I managed to move into another house in the town, a house with a couple of people living there, and I felt good and I felt safe. And there was a nice young girl there. She was in the room next to me. She seemed nice. Then she started talking about her mum. And I said, does your mum own the house on the hill? The old farm barn house? Yes, I used to live with her. She went, okay. And that night, I went to bed, and I heard the growling again, and I heard laughter, and I felt the pressure on my chest. And I thought, oh my God, it's going to start again. Lucky or unlucky, the girl, She moved out of the house. She was going to move out anyway to live with her boyfriend. She moved out of the house, and I never had anything ever again. Just completely stopped. What it was, I do not know. And even to this day, I don't think I want to know. Do I believe there's evil things, evil spirits? Probably not. Do I believe it was something psychic? Possibly. You know what? I don't fully know. One day I will go back there. One day I will investigate what truly happened in that little old farmhouse on the hill. Thank you for listening to my little ghost story.